Imagine a time when powerful trading companies sailed the seas, seeking riches in distant lands. These were the days of grand adventures and perilous journeys, where the promise of wealth and new opportunities drove men to the farthest corners of the world. That's how the British East India Company arrived in India, a land of diverse cultures and immense wealth. They were not the first Europeans to set foot on Indian soil, but their arrival marked the beginning of a new chapter in the subcontinent's history. They came to trade, but their ambitions soon grew. What started as a quest for spices, textiles, and other valuable goods quickly turned into a desire for control and dominance. Gradually, they gained control over vast territories, marking the beginning of the British Raj in the Indian subcontinent. Through a combination of military might, strategic alliances, and political maneuvering, the British East India Company expanded its influence. This period, spanning over 2 centuries, left an enduring mark on the region, shaping the destinies of nations that would later form SAARC. The British Raj was not just a political entity, it was a transformative force that altered the social, economic and cultural landscape of South Asia. The British East India Company, with its powerful army and shrewd tactics, expanded its influence across India. They established a network of forts and trading posts, creating a foundation for their growing empire. They fought battles, forged alliances, and exploited existing rivalries to consolidate their power. The company was adept at playing local rulers against each other, ensuring that their own position remained unchallenged. By the mid-19th century, the British Crown had taken direct control, ruling with an iron fist. The transition from company rule to crown rule marked a significant shift in the administration and governance of India. This vast territory, encompassing present-day India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan and the Maldives, became a crucial part of the British Empire. The subcontinent was not just a colony, it was the jewel in the crown, a source of immense wealth and strategic importance. Life under the British Raj was a complex tapestry of change and continuity. Traditional ways of life persisted, but they were increasingly influenced by British customs, laws and institutions. The British introduced new systems of administration, education and law, profoundly impacting the social fabric of the subcontinent. They established schools, courts and bureaucracies that would leave a lasting legacy. However, their rule was also marked by exploitation, discrimination, and a systematic undermining of local industries and institutions. The economic policies of the British often favoured their own interests at the expense of the local population. This period sowed the seeds of both progress and resentment, shaping the historical trajectory of the SAARC region. The struggle for independence, which would eventually lead to the end of British rule, began to take root during this time. The story of the British Raj is not just about dates and battles, it's about people, their lives and their struggles. It's about the resilience of those who lived under colonial rule and their efforts to reclaim their own destiny. It's about understanding how a foreign power left an indelible mark on the Indian subcontinent, shaping the destinies of millions. The legacy of the British Raj is complex, filled with both achievements and injustices. As we delve deeper into this complex period, we'll uncover the lasting legacies of British colonialism in the SAARC region. From the railways and legal systems to the deep-seated social changes, the impact of the British Raj continues to be felt today. To govern their vast Indian possession, the British implemented a range of policies, each designed to solidify their control and maximize their gains. These policies were multifaceted, touching upon various aspects of governance, economy and society, and were often enforced with a combination of diplomacy and military might. One such policy was the introduction of the doctrine of lapse, a cunning strategy used to annex princely states. This doctrine was masterminded by Lord Dalhousie, the Governor-General of India from 1848 to 1856, and it became a significant tool in the British arsenal for expanding their territory. If a ruler died without a male heir, the British annexed their kingdom, denying adoption as a legitimate means of succession. This policy was not only a legal maneuver, but also a direct challenge to the traditional Indian practices of inheritance and succession. This policy, widely criticized as unjust, led to the annexation of several states, including Jhansi and Satara. The annexation of Jhansi in particular became a flashpoint, leading to the legendary resistance by Rani Lakshmi Bai during the Indian Rebellion of 1857. The British also introduced English education, a move that had far-reaching consequences. This was part of their broader strategy to create a class of educated Indians who could assist in the administration and act as intermediaries between the British rulers and the Indian populace. While intended to create a class of Indians who could assist in administration, English education also opened a window to Western ideas like liberalism and nationalism. Indian students, exposed to the works of Western philosophers and political thinkers, began to question the legitimacy of British rule and envision a future of self-governance. It sowed the seeds of intellectual awakening among Indians, ultimately contributing to the rise of the independence movement. Figures like Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru and B.R. Ambedkar were products of this educational system, and they used their knowledge to mobilize the masses against colonial rule. The British administration heavily relied on a complex system of land revenue collection. This system was designed to extract maximum revenue from the agricultural sector, which was the backbone of the Indian economy. The permanent settlement, introduced in Bengal, made landlords permanent owners of land, responsible for collecting revenue from farmers. This policy was intended to create a loyal class of landlords who would support British interests. This system, while generating revenue for the British, often led to exploitation of farmers by landlords. The landlords, driven by the need to meet revenue targets, frequently imposed exorbitant taxes on the peasantry, leading to widespread poverty and indebtedness. Another key aspect of British rule was the development of infrastructure, particularly railways. The construction of railways was touted as a symbol of modernization and progress, but it primarily served British economic interests. While presented as a modernizing force, the railways were primarily designed to facilitate the transportation of raw materials from the hinterland to ports for export to Britain. This ensured a steady supply of raw materials for British industries while opening up Indian markets for British manufactured goods. This focus on extraction further crippled India's indigenous industries. Traditional crafts and industries, unable to compete with the influx of cheap British goods, went into decline, leading to economic dislocation and loss of livelihoods for many Indians. These policies, while seemingly disparate, were all geared towards strengthening British control, often at the expense of local populations. The cumulative effect of these policies was a deepening of economic and social inequalities, setting the stage for the eventual struggle for independence. The impact of British rule on Indian society was profound and multifaceted. The British Empire, with its vast reach and influence, left an indelible mark on the social, cultural, and political fabric of the subcontinent. The introduction of Western education led to a rise in literacy and the emergence of a new educated class. This education system, modelled after British institutions, emphasised subjects like science, mathematics, and English literature, which were previously not part of traditional Indian education. This new class, exposed to Western ideas, played a crucial role in shaping the intellectual and political landscape of the subcontinent. They engaged in vibrant debates, discussing ideas of democracy, liberty, and equality, which were gaining prominence in Europe at the time. They became the torchbearers of social reform movements, challenging traditional practices like sati, or widow immolation, and caste discrimination. Reformers like Rajaram Mohan Roy and Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar worked tirelessly to promote women's rights and education and to eradicate social evils. The British, driven by their own moral compass and political expediency, also initiated social reforms. They believed that by civilizing Indian society, they could justify their rule and maintain control over the vast and diverse population. They outlawed sati, suppressed practices like thuji, highway robbery and murder, and worked towards abolishing female infanticide. These measures, while progressive, were often met with resistance from traditionalists who viewed them as an imposition on their cultural practices. However, these reforms were often implemented with a paternalistic attitude, reflecting a belief in the superiority of Western civilization. The British saw themselves as the guardians of Indian society, a perspective that often led to condescension. and a lack of genuine understanding of local customs and traditions. The British also brought about significant changes in the legal system. They introduced a codified legal framework based on the British model, which aimed to bring about a sense of order and predictability in legal proceedings. They introduced a codified legal framework based on the British model, replacing the existing pluralistic legal system. This new system was designed to be more systematic and uniform, but it often disregarded the nuances of local laws and customs. While this brought about a degree of uniformity, it also marginalized customary laws and traditions. The imposition of British legal codes often led to conflicts and misunderstandings, as local populations struggled to adapt to the new legal norms. The social fabric of Indian society underwent a transformation during the British Raj. Urbanization increased as people moved to cities in search of better opportunities, leading to the growth of new social classes and the blending of different cultural practices. The rise of nationalism, the emergence of a new educated elite, and the challenges to traditional norms set the stage for the social and political upheavals that would follow. Leaders like Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru emerged from this milieu, advocating for self-rule and the end of colonial domination. This period of social ferment laid the groundwork for the independent nations that would emerge from the ashes of the British Empire. The legacy of British rule, with its mix of progress and paternalism, continues to shape the socio-political landscape of the region to this day.